I will call the Mandan Planning and Zoning Committee meeting for June 23rd to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Langang, Commissioner Huber, Commissioner Mutter,
Here.
Commissioner Horn,
Here.
Mayor Freilich,
Here.
Commissioner Infeld,
Here.
Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner, Chair Robinson.
Here. Next item, we have the minutes from the May 28th meeting. Any questions or comments?
I can move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Hammond to approve the minutes of May 28th. Any questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is passed. We'll move on to the first of our public hearings tonight. Item number 1, consider Shaw Estates 3rd Edition preliminary plat and special use permit and zone change. Rachel?
Hi. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Rachel Lockway. Just to reintroduce myself, I know Jim introduced me at the end of the last meeting, but I'm Rachel Lockway. I'm with Interstate Engineering. I'm serving as interim planner in between planners for Mandan. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to do my best tonight. So the first item on the agenda is a preliminary plat, zone change, and special use permit for Shaw Estates 3rd Edition. And I will go down to this for you so you can see it. So this is an item that was tabled at the Planning and Zoning meeting on May 28th because there was some confusion over both the plat and the zone change request, if you'll recall. So we did clarify that with the applicants, and so this is the updated request. So they are seeking to plat the subject property into 2 lots, one which contains the shop and the existing home, and so you can see that on this plat. The other lot is vacant. It's a total of 9.17 acres, with the request for the residential property on Lot 2 at 2.84 acres. So one of the questions that had come up a few times over the course that this has been in front of the commission and with staff has been the shop that's on the property. And so the special use permit is a request for a non-enumerated special use permit for the parking and storage of a personal use commercial vehicle over 2.5 tons on a residential property, which is code section 105-1-3-1A, numbers 1 and 2. And I apologize. This is located at 2392 37th Street. I think I assumed we were all familiar with it at this point, but so that's the request for the special use permit. The property itself is currently zoned CB commercial. It's located in the ETA. The surrounding properties are undeveloped with the exception of the farmstead to the east, which is zoned agricultural. The area is identified in the future land use plan as a commercial intersection. The future Beltway corridor connecting the interstate to North Bismarck would go by this property. So the applicant has also stated that the existing shop is utilized for personal use and not for business purposes. So with that, the plat itself is fairly straightforward. Sorry, I keep trying to use the trackpad on here. So the plat itself is fairly straightforward. There's a 2.4 acre lot, which is requested to go to residential, and then the 6.33 acre lot, which would stay commercial. And then the zone change request is just for lot 2. And so the ordinance that's in your packet would need one update because I think it refers to the full 9.17 acres and it would just be switched to lot 2. There is some information in your packet on the special use permit request that goes over the individual findings. Would you like me to read those, or are you comfortable with them being in the packet?
Commission, we okay? Yep, you just continue on.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Do you want me to read them or no?
No, you
No.
you can pass.
Okay. So the basis of those findings is essentially that the use will be stored indoors in an existing shop that's allowable in the current and adjacent zoning district of commercial, as well as in the future land use of commercial. There will be no excess noise, no additional commercial vehicles beyond the one existing, and that the special use permit will sunset at such a time as the property or existing personal use commercial vehicle is sold, and that the special use permit would also be conditioned upon that if the personal use commercial vehicle is determined to be utilized in service to a business, that the special use permit would be revoked. So that's a list of conditions that would be attached to it. The findings, though, if those conditions were met, the findings were all satisfactory. The finding of facts for the preliminary plat were all satisfactory, as were the zone change request. So the recommendation would be that the city staff would recommend approval of the Schaff Estates Third Edition preliminary plat and the zone change request from CB Commercial to R7 Residential for Lot 2, and approval of the non-enumerated special use permit as conditioned in the staff report. And I can answer any questions.
Questions for Rachel? Thank you. This item has been before us, so are there any questions from the commission? With none at this time, I'll open it up for public comment or questions on item number 1. Taking comments or questions on the Schaff Estates Third Edition. Questions or comments? With none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission.
Rachel, I'm asking one question because Craig Smith told me I had to. No. Actually, in the suggested motion, you have use permit conditioned on in the staff report. Are you okay with that? You don't want us to put what the staff report said. You're okay with the wording of that?
I'm fine with it, but if you would prefer
No,
to list out the conditions, you're
Heck, no.
absolutely okay with it. This is part of the public record, so
Okay.
it should be okay to say as conditioned in the staff report.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions for Rachel?
Chair Roberts, I can make a motion if you'd like.
Ready for a motion?
I move to recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Schaff Estates Third Edition and the zone change from CB Commercial to R7 Residential for Lot 2, and the approval of the non-enumerated special use permit as conditioned in the staff report.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Mutter. Motion is to recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Schaff Estates Third Edition and the zone change from CB Commercial to R7 Residential for Lot 2, and approval of the non-enumerated special use permit as conditioned in the staff report. Are there any questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Aye.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And the motion is passed. We'll move on to public hearing number 2. Consider a zone change from RM, which is multifamily, to a PUD, planned unit development for Clover Grove. Rachel?
Okay. This one was also tabled at the last meeting, so. And also, we do have a recommendation, so that is good news. I'm going to zoom in here for you. Again, I'm going to assume that everybody knows where we're at, but we're south of 19th Street. Okay, so this was an application for a zone change from RM multifamily to PUD, planned unit development for Macedonia Hills Government Lot 2, less outlot A in the northwest quarter of northeast quarter of Section 3, Township 138 North, Range 81 West. The PUD request, if granted, would be followed by plating and approval of a phased subdivision plan. So staff and the applicant did meet after the May 28th meeting to discuss changes to the PUD application. If you'll recall, there were some questions about street widths, public and private utilities, et cetera. So the 14.82 acres is currently intended for 57 entry-level single-family detached and duplex type home lots. The R3.2 zoning district serves as the basis of the PUD narrative. The adjacent properties to the west and north are zoned R7, residential single family, and R3.2 residential single and two family, and the property to the south is zoned ag. The future land use plan recommends low density residential land use on this property. So the notes, I'm going to go over these and highlight where it's different from the previous submittal. But if you have questions, feel free to stop and ask and clarify. So access to the property will be from a new north-south local street on the west side of the property that's currently a 100-foot township right-of-way. The applicant has proposed changing this to an 80-foot wide city right-of-way with a 40-foot back of curb local street with sidewalks and boulevards on the east side of the street. That is a change from the prior submittal. There was no sidewalk on the east side of the street. There was, I guess there technically would have been a boulevard, and they have clarified that 80-foot right-of-way. The interior access to the property will be via a 50-foot or 51-foot access easement with a 31-foot street, 5-foot boulevard, and 5-foot sidewalk. So in the plans that we had reviewed last month, the street was the only part of the easement, and then there was a second easement for the sidewalk and the boulevard. And so this is all now in one easement. There's a slight difference in a couple measurements throughout the plan set, but it's either 50 or 51 feet. Either way, it essentially functions the way that we've discussed with the 31-foot street and then the 5-foot boulevard and 5-foot sidewalk. There was a lot of discussion at the last meeting regarding access management to the property itself, fully from 19th. So International Fire Code Appendix D 107.1 allows for only one access per 30 houses and requires additional access point for additional units. So the applicant has only one existing access, which is the new north-south public right-of-way on the west side of the development. And then any additional access to the east or west requires cooperation from additional landowners, which rightly they've noted that they can't necessarily guarantee. Access management guidance from the transportation plan does indicate that there should not be an additional permanent access allowed onto 19th from this development. So what the applicant is showing, I can go down to that really quick. Sorry, bear with me here while I find the right image. I'm not seeing it in here. 2 pages, this one? No. I'm not seeing it here. They did submit a new plan that shows that emergency access going from this cul-de-sac out to 19th. So mentally, if you can draw that into this map, that'd be great. Am I on the wrong one still? Yeah, it would just be an access easement. So it'd be a class 5 gravel emergency and temporary access onto the eastern edge of the property. It would be able to be used for temporary access to the property south while the new north-south road is being constructed. And then the applicant is recommending that for the moment it remain as an emergency access point. The applicant is recommending that it be gated both fire and building staff in general have concerns with that gated emergency access. So the recommendation would not be for that. But that is something that can be finalized at a later point. So staff is essentially recommending that the applicant only plat phase 2 when east-west access to existing subdivisions becomes available. They have provided a viable plan to connect westward, but they don't have an agreement with that landowner. So that's access in a nutshell. We can come back to that one, but because there's a lot there. Utilities, again, we've clarified this with the applicant. So all interior utilities are now private. They'll be metered individually per unit and privately owned and maintained by the HOA. So at the time of final plat, finalized HOA documents should be provided. The parkland, the PUD shows adequate park space connecting the development to 19th, and the applicant has noted that the park district plans to accept this park space. It should be platted as a separate lot, and the park district should confirm acceptance at the final plat stage. And phasing, this PUD would allow the ability to plat phase 1 and phase 2, with phase 2 being restricted until such time as east-west additional access has been planned for and secured. Phase 1 is able to be fully self-contained. Any site grading that occurs on phase 2 prior to platting should be both approved by the city and should be grassed and maintained until phase 2 is platted and construction begins. So the dividing line between phase 1 and phase 2 is essentially the power line here. So the findings of fact are in the packet for the zone change. It is consistent. It provides necessary public services and facilities. It has undergone extensive review. And the recommendation is approval of the zone change from RM multifamily to a PUD planned unit development with the following conditions: platting of phase 1 and a master plan of phase 2, along with everything else that was in here that would be part of the development agreement when they get to that stage. So I know that was a lot. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Rachel?
I have one, and I'm still stuck on the 31 feet across because if I remember right, between DCP and Prairie West, it's 34 feet across there, and I know how narrow it gets during the rodeo and stuff. I'm kind of concerned. Is it okay? I guess my question is the fire department and the police department, are they okay with it? And the second thing is a little more clarification on that emergency road. I thought I read somewhere in here it was going to be a gravel road. Who's going to take care of it and stuff like that? Thank you.
Can I answer that? Okay. So the first part about the road width, agreed. It's definitely a small, narrow road, right? And that was one of the concerns that had come up last month that we had talked about. And obviously I wasn't privy to a lot of the conversations prior to last month, but one of the things that we did is we did go out and measure streets, right? We looked at how they operate. It's a small road. The parking situation is probably able to be managed. There's not a whole lot of double loaded spaces in this subdivision at the moment that would allow for parking on the street, right? So your parking on the street is probably going to be fairly minimal, at least in front of homes. We did talk with the fire department. The fire department did say that they felt like they would be able to get through. They were part of a meeting with the applicants. Like I said, we did go out and measure streets. There are other private streets. Jordan, I am blanking on the name of the subdivision that we looked at that is north of here. That is private streets, private utilities.
Yeah, there was a few that we looked at.
One of them has 30-foot wide streets, and the general consensus was that it works okay. But they are private, right? Which is a big distinction there. It's private, it's not public. So the staff had a level of comfort with that after review, measuring, and looking at the overall easement size. And then the second question you had asked was, I'm sorry.
About the emergency, the second, that's going to be a gravel road, and who's going to take care of that? That would be my question.
Yeah, that is their intention at the moment. That would be maintained by the HOA, as would all the other roads.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, Rachel, the gate on that access, they're not having the gate now with that gravel road emergency access?
Staff is recommending no to
Okay.
that. So again, that is an item that probably belongs more in the DA,
Correct.
right? So staff's recommendation is no. I believe the applicant still would like it, but we didn't feel that that was a big enough of an issue to hold this from
Sure.
going forward.
I agree.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, Rachel, actually, I got one. I was unable to attend last month's meeting. Was there any other concern from the neighboring landowners at all on this development?
I don't believe that there were any comments received, Nancy. None.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thanks. With none, I'll
I got
open
one
it.
more. I got one. Snow removal is what's the plan for, because I know it's private, but what do they plan on doing for snow? I'm worried about snow removal. I don't know why, but it's winter, so we'll talk about snow.
I will let them address their specific plan, but it's private roads and private utilities, so all of it would be handled by their HOA. Yes, that is obviously always a concern, right? When you're looking at who's going to get the calls for it, it's still probably going to be the city, but it will be private roads, so it will be their responsibility. So I can let them explain exactly how their HOA would handle it.
Any others? Okay, thank you. None, I'll open it up for public comment, and the applicant is here, so we'll have us speak first.
It's good to see everyone again. My name's Lucas Meyer, and I want to thank the staff for working with us to find the best path forward on this project. And I wanted to go on the screen for a second and just show that site plan that we were trying to look at a moment ago. There we go. That's what we ended up doing with the temporary access road. The reason we put it here is when phase 2 comes, and if there is no solution for secondary access that's east to west in this property, we want to look at this as a potential opportunity to make that secondary access a permanent solution for this community and the growth in that area. So that's why we ended up doing gravel roads and well, not a gravel road. It would be a road that allows the weight of a fire truck, which I believe is 75,000 pounds. We want to have that there as an option for the community. And we also have to serve the residents to the south and ensure that the fire department has access while we're constructing that north to south. But again, that's all going to happen at later discussion to see where we're at 3-4 years down the road, and if there is feasibility to go something east to west, we do prefer that, but we want to give this area at least the option for it. And then I wanted to answer the snow question. So we thought about this quite a bit, and right by that road we have a large area right here where we believe would be a great place to stockpile snow during the winter. And then you can see this row of houses. We did leave quite a bit of room on the back side that's not on their property, but on HOA's property to stockpile snow there. And then additional snow would go in this area. So we have accounted for that, and we do plan on managing that through our HOA and charging the residents the fee for that service. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
The temporary road, where is that in relation to the, is it culverts that they have there?
Yes, I'm going to try to zoom in. Okay, can you see this right here? Mm-hmm. That is where your storm is currently running underneath the road, and you have culverts that enter, I believe, right here. So it's a little ways away, but we would have to put culverts in to continue the flow to this area.
And then that space you had for staging snow that the HOA would own, is that supposed to be a permanent arrangement?
Yes, so once we get down to platting this, we'll look at where the line for the dedication will happen. We'll end up taking most of what is that drainage area, just because in discussion with the park and rec, the mowers don't really get down there that great. So when we bring out our landscape crews and clean it up, we'll clean up the drainage easement.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant?
Just about your HOA. When are you going to have, I'm assuming you're going to run the HOA until you get a certain amount sold. What's your vision for?
Correct.
Takeover.
We'll do a 70-30 on the full development. So once 70% of the lots are transferred to individual owners, that's when we'll start the handoff period.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those in the room or calling in, we're taking questions or comments on item number 2. Again, comments or questions on Clover Grove? With none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission. Do we have any further questions for Rachel or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to recommend approval of the zone change from RM multifamily to planned unit development with the following conditions: plating of Phase 1 and master plan of Phase 2.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Infeld. And motion is to recommend approval of the zone change from RM to a PUD with the following conditions: plating of Phase 1 and a master plan of Phase 2. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. We'll move on to our third public hearing. Consider a zone change request from CB Commercial to RMH Residential for lots 3 through 6, Block 2, Meadowlands subdivision. Rachel?
This one as well. Oh, short, sorry. Okay. So this is Meadowlands Park LLC is requesting a zone change from CB Commercial to RMH Residential for lots 3 through 6, Block 2, Meadowlands subdivision. So this is in the southeast, essentially the southeast corner of Memorial Highway and the unbuilt 18th Avenue Southeast. So the existing Meadowlands development to the west is zoned RH and is a single lot manufactured home park. The proposed RMH zone for lots 3 through 6, Block 2 is intended for manufactured home units with fee simple lot ownership. There is no proposed layout at this time, as the applicant wanted to ensure that the zoning would be able to be approved prior to creating that layout. They are looking to have 40 to 50 lots. All access would be from 18th Ave Southeast, the main access points, and then and that would require at least 2 accesses into the subdivision based on the proposed number of lots. This was originally platted in 2015 as the Meadowlands Edition, which included the right-of-way for 18th Avenue Southeast. that goes from Memorial Highway to 3rd Street Southeast. The initial plan envisioned commercial development along Memorial Highway and 3rd Street with right-in, right-out access due to high traffic volumes. And so the lots along Memorial Highway are still Zone CB, which you can see. The connection to Memorial Highway has not been developed, as 18th has not been developed. To the north and south, it's zoned CB commercial. To the west, it's zoned RH residential mobile home park. And then to the east, it's zoned MA heavy commercial light industrial and MB heavy commercial heavy industrial. The future land use plan designates this area for industrial use. No amendments have been made to alter planned land uses, and an amendment is not required at this time, given that the adjacent uses would not support industrial development on these properties. The proposed land uses are unlikely to significantly impact the area. Any modifications to access along Memorial Highway Southeast will require review by the DOT. Construction of 18th Avenue would be required as part of the development of lots 3 through 6, with no building permits being issued until road construction is substantially complete. Layout and platting of the site will be required, and all streets and utilities internal to the property will be privately owned and maintained via an HOA. There is an item that I believe we're unsure if it still needs to be addressed, which is some streetlights on some private roads in phase 1. So I'm not sure if those have been completed or not, but it is in there as a in case. And then buffering on the east side of the property between lots 3 through 6 and then the industrially zoned Riverwood Commercial Park will need to be maintained or replaced as part of this any development that occurs. And then, as noted, that connection of 18th into Memorial Highway will need to be completed as part of the 18th Avenue construction. So there's quite a number of items that this zone change would be contingent on in my recommendation. There's finding of facts, and so there are a few contingencies noted, such as that the City of Mandan would be able to provide necessary public services, facilities, and programs to serve the development allowed by this zone change, contingent on an approved preliminary and final plat development agreement and all roads being constructed to city standards. The zone change is consistent with the general intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance, provided that the above are achieved. The proposed zoning change, without other items being addressed, is still generally consistent with the future land use plan and other adopted plans and policies. It's compatible with adjacent zoning, and that the proposed zoning change without an approved preliminary and final plat, construction of 18th Avenue, and intersection of Memorial Highway, secondary access, streetlights, and other potentially applicable items would adversely affect the public health, safety, and general welfare. So the recommendation is to approve the zone change from lots 3 to 6 of the Meadowlands subdivision from CB commercial to RMH residential, contingent on that approved preliminary and final plat, approved development agreement, and all road standards and access management requirements being met. So, if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Questions for Rachel? Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up for public comments or questions on the application. We're taking comments or questions on zone change for Meadowlands subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. Abe Almer with Independent Land Surveying and Engineering. Working with the developer on this, what we're trying to do is trying to see if you guys would allow the zone change before we go thousands and thousands of dollars down the rabbit hole with layouts and everything else. That's why we're actually asking for this to be contingent on the preliminary plat and final plat. If it seems like you guys are in agreement that RMH is a good fit for these lots, I think that triggers our next steps to go down the road with layouts, everything else to bring to your guys' approval down the road. So, stand for any questions.
This does, and just for information, this does butt up what is presently considered a levy. Long-term, we're applying for a redundancy and it gets removed, but I know they have initiated some communication on doing the preliminary work.
Okay.
That needs to go through the Corps.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Again, comments or questions on Meadowlands? With none, I'll close the public comment, return it back to the commission. I'll make a comment, wearing a little bit different hat here for Lower Hart, the levy board. This zone change would be easier to work with in the levy capacity. It's surface development. If it was commercial, you would have a lot bigger structures and other development issues that would go along with it.
Since you brought it up, how much more land are you going to have to take or use?
Well, it isn't so much, we wouldn't be taking anything here. The issue is when you develop next to a levee, you have that 500-foot area that the Corps wants additional studies on, which this is enveloped in that area. But as far as long-term, even long-term plan, nothing in this area. Any other questions?
Chair Robinson, I can move to approve, if you're ready for that. I'll make a motion to approve zone change for lots 3 through 6 of Meadowlands subdivision from CB commercial to RMH residential, contingent on approval of preliminary and final plat, approved development agreement, and all road standards and access management requirements being met.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Hammond. The motion is to recommend approval of the zone change for lots 3 through 6 of the Meadowlands subdivision from CB commercial to RMH residential, contingent on approved preliminary and final plat, approved development agreement, and all road standards and access management requirements being met. Any questions? None? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Invelt,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. Fourth public hearing, consider a building setback variance for lots 4 through 15, Block 2, Mandan proper. Rachel?
Okay. Okay, so this is a request for a building setback variance. This is at the corner. I'm going to zoom in here and see if I can. Of Main Street between 4th and 5th Avenues. So this variance request is from section 105-4-2.2C4 of the City Code of Ordinances, which relates to front yard building setbacks in the downtown fringe district. The properties surrounding this area are zoned downtown core to the west and downtown fringe to the northeast and south, and the future land use plan identifies this area as commercial. So the applicant purchased this property in order to reuse the existing building, which I believe is Hardee's, but is not able to do so. So they will be fully reconstructing the property, which means that the property will not fall under non-conforming ordinances. So there's a minimum setback, or a maximum setback, sorry. There's a maximum setback of 25 feet allowed in the downtown fringe district, and the applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a 59-foot setback to allow for parking in front of the building along Main Street. The ordinance is, the way it's written with that maximum setback is written to disincentivize parking along the front of buildings in order to provide a walkable, interesting environment, which is shown further by the requirement that building entrances face the street. The buildings to either side of this property have varied setbacks, and they really don't seem to provide super clear guidance. Buildings to the west are built with 0 or close to 0 setback. Buildings to the south have a greater setback, the one that's closer to the requested 59 feet. One building to the east has a 0 setback, and one has a larger setback. Other buildings on the same block have also been built with what appears to be a 0-foot or minimal setback. So there's really no clear guidance to either side of this. The findings of fact, the hardship is not caused by the provisions of the zoning ordinance. Strict application of provisions of the zoning ordinance would not deprive the property owner of the reasonable use of the property. The requested variance is the minimum variance that would accomplish the relief sought by the applicant, and the granting of the variance is not in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance. Planning staff is recommending review of the request and findings of fact, consideration of the statement of hardship and potential identification of a hardship, and then modifying or accepting staff's findings of fact as necessary to support the motion of the board. And I can answer any questions.
Rachel, all of the other buildings that are in excess of 25 feet, which are a lot, 40 to 50, 70 feet, were any of these, or does it, maybe any of the commissioners know too, were any of these built after the ordinance took effect?
So I know that Capital Bank, which is the building immediately to the east, they requested a variance in 2011, and they were granted it. And I believe, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like the date of the flood.
Yeah, the dates, Commissioners and Chair Robinson, are May 17th, 2011. So I come to say I think there were some other things going on in town as well at that time frame. So
yeah, that is the one that we could find. I'm not sure about the buildings to the south. I don't believe we pulled those building permits. I'm not sure compared to the ordinance on that one. But I do know a variance was granted to the building to the east in 2011, so 14 years ago.
Any other questions? Questions for Rachel? With none, I'll open it up for public comments or questions. On item number 4, request for a setback variance of lots 4 through 15.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lee Brady, and I'm the owner of Ideal Image Dentistry, as well as BS Real Estate, LLC. I've proudly served the Mandan community for 15 years, all of which I've been located on Main Street. Both as a healthcare provider and a small business owner, I'm deeply invested in the vitality and visibility of Main Street, not just for my practice, but for the continued economic and cultural strength of the area. The Main Street present and front-facing parking lot are not simply aesthetic preferences, they're essential elements to my business strategy. Nearly 25% of my new patient acquisitions are directly attributed to our visibility and accessibility from Main Street. This access plays a crucial role in the building of trust with new patients, fostering walk-in interest, and reinforcing our reputation as a community-centered dental practice. Moreover, the Main Street presence and accessible parking area are central to my broader vision of community engagement. These elements allow me to support and participate in longstanding Mandan traditions such as the 4th of July parade by offering a space that welcomes residents beyond the scope of dental care. This kind of outreach is critical to the component of modern dental business plan, cultivating relationships, enhancing visibility, and building goodwill among local residents. The front-facing lot in the Main Street-facing entrance also creates opportunity for collaboration with other businesses, entrepreneurs, and community organizations, providing a flexible, inviting space during and after business hours. These relationships do not just strengthen my practice, but contribute to the growth and interconnected success of the entire business district. When BS Real Estate acquired the property, we intended to remodel the existing structure to suit the needs of Ideal Image Dentistry, while preserving the design principles common to other businesses in the downtown fringe zoning district, namely a building with its entrance facing Main Street and front parking lot for accessibility and visibility. Unfortunately, the condition of the existing building required more extensive modifications than initially anticipated. This led us to pursue full reconstruction of the site. However, the compliance with the 25-foot setback would force us to position a building directly adjacent to Main Street, relegating parking and primary entrance to the rear or side of the building. As a result, the back of the structure would face Main Street, which is both counterintuitive and counterproductive to the core goals of being on Main Street in the first place. It undermines the sense of welcome, visibility, accessibility that are vital for a patient-centered business. A further hardship arises with access. Shifting the building south to meet the setback would eliminate the ability to use the property's existing Main Street entrance, one of the prime reasons the property was purchased. Removing this access would force reliance on alleyway entrances with the lack of visibility, functionality, and safety desired for a healthcare practice. It is important to note that the property lies within the downtown fringe and not downtown core, where many of the nearby businesses operate with similar front parking layout, holding this property to the same restrictions as those in the downtown core ignores the contextual differences in established developmental pattern within this zone. Our proposed layout is not only consistent with the surrounding area, but with its harmony with other existing businesses in the same zoning district that enjoy substantial setbacks in front-facing parking lots. Some examples include the Capital Credit Union building, which is directly east to me, which has approximately a 52-foot setback. Senex, which is approximately a 40-foot setback. Taco John's has approximately a 70-foot setback. Mandan Tire has approximately a 52 setback. And Railway Credit Union, approximately a 73-foot setback. These examples clearly illustrate the greater setback coupled with the front-facing parking is not only reasonable, but aligns with the existing fabric of the community. I respectfully request that you approve our variance request for an increased setback. This will allow us to retain a layout that supports our visibility, access, and a role as a long-standing, engaged member of the Mandan business community. The Main Street presence and front-facing parking lot are not just conveniences, but are a core that continued success of my business into the shared vision of the thriving, connected Mandan.
Real quick question is, how many parking spots are you planning there?
We have 49.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
The existing building, it looks like it's about 55 to 60 feet setback right now, I think. Does that sound about right? And so the new building's going to have a real similar footprint to what's there right now, is what you'd contemplate? Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for myself?
Have you already purchased the property?
Yes.
Okay, and closed on the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening, Abe Almer with ILSC again. If I give me a second, technology is not my friend usually. So this is the proposed site. Actually, it's a two-phase building with a 100-foot by 100-foot by 53-foot building for ideal image, and a second phase that's another additional 95-foot building to the left side. Sorry. See, somebody's got to guide me. So ideal image would be it's a two-phase building. Ideal image is looking at doing or taking the east half of the building, which is 100 by 53 foot, and there's a second building planned for future commercial there. But at this time, we're looking at building the entire parking lot all the way around. This main access is the big hardship, is not having any main street access. If we take that access away and shift that building down, our main access is now going to be the alleyways. The other part of a hardship that I haven't stated is working through the stormwater plan. This site, the way it's designed right now, actually matches the existing drainage of the existing Hardy site. If we flip that drainage around, push that building closer to Main Street, it's going to increase the size of a couple drainage basins or drainage areas, watersheds. And we might, I have not done the math yet, but we might have to look at some kind of stormwater pond or some kind of detention to compensate for the bigger flows going to that area. So,
Questions for Abe? Thank you.
thanks.
Comments or questions on the Main Street variance setback? With none, I'll close and return it back to the commission.
I'll just make a comment, I guess, more than anything. Looking at the paperwork and hearing the comments, it looks like there could be two hardships, I guess. One could be access and then the drainage, as Abe stated. And I do like the vision of having a front-facing building to Main Street. They could be more customer-friendly looking, kind of the look we're after for long-term vision.
Jared, that almost sounded like a motion, didn't it?
It nipped at its heels, yes.
Open other opinions, of course.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I agree with that, and if no one else has any thoughts, I'll move to approve the requested variance of the front yard setback in the DF Downtown Fringe District for lots 4 or 5 Mandan proper from a maximum of 25 feet to 59 feet due to the following hardship. Strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance would deprive the property owner of the reasonable use of the property due to access limitations and drainage issues.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Mutter. Motion is to recommend approval of the requested variance of the front yard setback in the DF Downtown Fringe District for lots 4 through 15, Mandan proper, from a maximum of 25 feet to a maximum of 59 feet due to the following hardship, which is strict application to the ordinance, would restrict access to the property and drainage issues, and to modify the staff finding of facts. Any questions with the motion? Any further questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. We'll move on to our fifth public hearing. Consider a building setback variance for Lot 6, Landai subdivision, replat lots 4 through 6. Rachel?
Okay, so, still short, still have to move the microphone. Okay, so this is a request of a variance at 2145 37th Street. It's Lot 6, Land Ice Subdivision replat of lots 4 through 6, and the variance request is a variance to Section 105-3-5E1A, which is building setbacks in the R7 residential zoning district. So there's a 50-foot required setback from an arterial street, which is what 37th Street is designated as on long-range planning documents. Currently, 37th Street is a collector street and has a 35-foot required setback. So they're requesting a variance for a building that currently exists at 39 feet from the property line to be torn down, rebuilt, and expanded into a second existing building on the property. Both the existing garage and the planned building project will meet the required 35-foot setback for 37th Street as it's currently designated as a collector. The future land use plan for this area identifies it as low-density residential. The findings of fact are listed in the packet. And planning staff is recommending to approve the requested variance from Section 105-3-5E1A that requires a 50-foot front yard setback from an arterial roadway based on the existing designation of the road as a collector street with a required 35-foot setback, which the existing and proposed building meet, and because 37th is not likely to be improved in the near to midterm future based on planning documents. I can answer any questions.
Questions for Rachel? Any questions?
Rachel, just one, you said there was some letters sent to adjacent property owners. Any feedback from them at all?
I don't believe so, nope.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you. With none, I'll open it up for public comment or questions. Taking questions on item number 5, setback variance for Lot 6, Land Ice subdivision. Any questions? With none, I'll close the public comment and return it back to the commission. Do we have any further questions for Rachel? questions? Do we have any further discussion or a motion?
I can make a motion. I move to recommend approval to approve the requested variance from section 105-3-5, subsection E 1.a, which requires a 50-foot front yard setback from an arterial roadway based on the existing designation of the road as a collector street with a required 35-foot setback, which the existing and proposed building meet and is not likely to be improved in the near to midterm future-based planning documents.
I'll second.
A motion from Commissioner Infeld and a second by Commissioner Smith. Motion is to recommend approval to approve the requested variance from section 105-3-5, subsection E1A, which requires a 50-foot front yard setback from an arterial roadway based on the existing designation of the road as a collector street with a required 35-foot setback, which the existing and proposed building meet, and is not likely to be improved in the near to midterm future based on planning documents. Any questions on the motion? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. Thank you. And last item, other business, appointment to the board.
Chair Robinson and Commissioners, we have a vacancy created when Ben Buckmiller resigned from the commission on April 28th. Nancy has worked hard with the other applicants from future that, or from past, that were interested in serving on the planning and zoning. She reached out and one respondent, Nick Renner, who many of you may recall was a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission from 2017 to 2021. So the recommendation from staff is to appoint Nick Renner to fill the board vacancy seat with a term ending of December 31st, 2027. And I know Nick is in the room if you have any questions for him.
Any questions for Jim? We also have Nick here.
I think he's got to at least stand up and wave or something. Chair, you want a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve Nick Renner to serve out the term ending in 2027. Is that right, Jim?
Correct.
Yep.
December 31st, 2027.
December 31st, 2027.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Infeld. Motion is to move to appoint Nick Renner to the board to fill the vacant seat with the term ending December 31, 2027. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
and Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is approved. Thank you, Nick.
Chair Robinson, just wanted to throw a large shout out to our team, Nancy and Jordan, and also for Rachel for assisting us through a lot of difficult and challenging situations that you all dealt with very well tonight. And you remember our last meeting, we had a lot of questions. Those were answered, and I think we all came to solutions that were amicable and really worked well for everyone involved. So we appreciate our folks and Rachel and her team working with us, and also with all of the folks in attendance tonight. So I thought a job well done. So shout out to all of them.
Thank you. And with that, we are ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.